I was on a call with one of my clients last night, and she was mentioning how this other entity was able to buy a franchise and scale up with employees and all kinds of stuff. And I told her, I said, most likely what they did, they were able to go in and get a certain type of funding that allows you to use your projections. And they put on their projections the cost of their employees. And so they got a loan for probably all of that. But
Build million-dollar legacies with purpose. Because if any of you have been listening to our past conversations, you know P3 Purposepreneur is all about people who are building businesses and legacy around in their purpose. Purpose is the intention and the reason for creating a thing. And I've titled these interviews as Build Million-Dollar Legacies with Purpose. And this is the reason that I'm talking to these amazing people. But I'm too excited today because I have none other than Corey Barber. Corey is in the financial world. And if you're trying to do anything, whether it's personal or business, you have to know something about finances. And so I'm excited because he's going to be helping us understand what we need to do in the financial industry. And then here's what I titled this conversation. I even asked him if it was okay before we started this live, which is creating blueprints for financial sustainability and legacy. He said that's perfect because it's broad. So without further ado, y'all get out y'all notepads because
do
he's
that.
going to be dropping some information that I don't believe you want to miss, especially when we're talking about sustainability and legacy. So I introduced to you Corey Barber. And Corey,
Yes.
here's my first question.
All right.
You know, finances is such this nebulous thing. Like most people, when you say finance, they think about money, the tangible dollar bill, right?
Right.
But I want to know, because you didn't just fall into this, and you have this real passion around helping others create financial sustainability and legacy. My question to you is, where did that begin for you?
Yes, that's a beautiful question that pricks my mind to go to a place where I'm a country preacher's kid from a place called Goldsboro, North Carolina. And one of the things that I, as a young age, was able to see, I was able to see my father build a legacy that started in the back of a beat up Toyota Cressida and ended up in much nicer cars. And so I was able to see how through faith, hard work, execution, how how his gift made room for him and also elevated him to another place. And so as a kid, to be able to see that, to be able to trust in God, to be able to eat syrup sandwiches and know that everything is fine and not know what's going on, but see my parents have a beautiful game face, even though times were hard, to be at a place where then they were afforded more and great stewards of that, put something inside of me that showed me how important it was to be, one, a good steward of money. There's so many biblical principles that allude to that, that show that when you're given a certain amount, whether it be one talent, three, five, whatever the case may be, you are to do something with it. And if you don't, you actually see the word demonic being used. And so it's a great question that kind of took me back to being 4 years old. One of the greatest stories that my mother loves is a
I'm
story.
so glad you said for Corey, because I was about to ask you, like, when you say kid could be a wide range. I want to
Oh
know.
no. I listen. My head was the same size it is now, and I was 40. But as a kid, I wanted a dirt bike. And I'm telling you, my mother said, "Hey, pray, just ask God for it." And do you know, I was probably 7 or 8 years old. A guy backed up to our house and gave me a brand new dirt bike. And so that faith of a dirt bike has turned into faith for dirt, real estate, land, different things like that. And so I know too much about them to doubt it. And I think that's where it started. And so that gave me, one, a view of stewardship, two, a view of entrepreneurship with my father and his ministry, where he built a ministry from a hotel room all the way to owning 53 acres and having a facility there. And so um, I have been blessed to see things, and as a result of that exposure, it's put a desire inside of me that gives me the ability to want for others and provide them with information and strategy to be able to attain. So I hope that answered the question. That might have been a little long.
Yeah, no, actually it was perfect because if you don't mind, I have a follow-up question because you had such great models.
Yes, yes,
So you can see that unfold.
yes,
But for some of us, what if we don't have that model? And I understand what it means to see someone model something to me and to be able to believe in what they're doing and try it myself and say, oh, that works. But
hmm
what if you don't have that model and you're four, but there are some of us who are in our 40s
yeah,
and we don't know how to do that. So how could you explain that to someone who is in their 40s? How to have the awareness to have faith
yeah.
enough to believe that this can happen for me too in regards to stewardship, because we're talking about financial stewardship. And
Yeah.
oftentimes we get to our 40s and we still have no idea what financial stewardship is.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that you said was awareness. And so in a lot of cases, our awareness comes from our environment. And not only that, the awareness that we have as a result of our environment can lead to toxic situations that become comfortable. We're comfortable in our toxicity because here's the famous line, that's just the way we do. That's just the way it
Mhm.
is. Um, but I believe in this world of just exposure of all good and evil, that self-awareness first and foremost says, okay, here's where I am, but here's where I'm trying to go. And I think people have to have that self-awareness and be pricked into action depending on where they are in life. And this is not just stewardship. These are all different areas. You know, I have issues in my life where I've been pricked and I'm still being pricked to move to a certain model. But I believe that those that are self-aware and aware enough to say, okay, here's my pain point, right? We see this a lot in a lot of clients that I deal with in business. Their pain point is they have been self-funding their business and they're
Mm.
absolutely blowing up. And they no longer can self-fund their business because they need resources to be able to scale, sustain, and grow, to hire people, to get raw material, things of that nature. But it's their self-awareness that leads them to take steps towards an action and an outcome. And so, like you said, I think self-awareness is the first piece. And once you're aware of it, then you got to seek counsel. There's safety in the multitude of counsel. Go out and seek counsel. Say, okay, wait a minute. One of the things that I did and do, especially as a young person, as a young in my 20s, which was a long time ago, I was unashamed about coming up to you saying, "Hey, you look like you're doing well. Who are you and what do you do?" And some of my greatest mentors have come that way. And so if a person, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Do you think we have a certain level of inhibition about going up to people, whether we know them or not, and asking them, from what I see, you're doing very well. What do you do and how do you do it?
Well, I think there was a time where that was frowned upon. I think we live in a culture now where we communicate different and we're more open to have conversations. Here, I'll give you an example. There's a guy that I see on social media that's all he does. He walks up to people's expensive cars and say, "Hey, I'm so and so and so. What do you do for a living?" Because he believes as a result of the car that they're successful. Now we know greater than that. The point is that I think in a lot of cases, our pride prohibits us from moving forward, right? Even me as a man, being married, approaching 18 years, I see other brothers and I'm like, I like the way he did that. I like that. Bro, come here. How did you, I've got a 12-year-old beautiful daughter, a brilliant little 9-year-old son, but I still seek counsel from my father and others where I see when they're older, I'm like, so you have a 16-year-old son. How did you matriculate this, and this? And so I think we make a mistake when we don't seek counsel
I
because
think we have to learn to get over ourselves. Because I
yeah,
do believe sometimes we are telling ourselves that we've already answered the question before we even ask the question. We've already answered for the other person. Well, they're not going to tell me everything, and you have no idea
yeah.
the type of information that they can give you in order to change your life. So I think first and foremost, we're going to have to change our minds on how we look at asking for counsel from
Mhm.
other people, because that's why we're here.
Well, a beautiful example of that is the 19th of January at 1:22 p.m. I am on a call with a young lady that I met that any and every time I asked her a question, not only did she promptly answer me, but the information was so thorough that it saved me money, time, and mistakes. And that's a
Ooh.
shout out to you because I'm talking about you. Yeah, let everybody, I'm talking about this woman right here. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Um, and you weren't puffy, you weren't prideful. You also made it easy to engage you. And that's something that I
Yeah,
gotta
I
make
wasn't
sure.
expecting that one. I'm telling you right
It's
now.
true. Look, I got receipts. We can pull up the phone and look, this woman's so bad. She made an accountability section for us and would ask me, when are you executing on that? And
I
I'm
do.
stumbling and bumbling and so this is the fruit of exactly what you're talking about.
Oh my
And
goodness. Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
shout out to you.
That's huge. That is because that's just what I do.
That's
And
what
I
you
do
do.
it just like I don't try to do it. It's just, it's what I do.
Yeah,
Which brings me to what you do.
what I
And
do.
you service small businesses and and corporate and corporate clients. Is
Hmm.
that correct?
Yeah. Hmm.
Now, you said something prior that oftentimes we're trying to fund our own businesses because we think and have been told that's what you have to do first. Is that a myth?
It is to a certain extent, right?
Can you explain what that certain extent is?
Absolutely. So there are absolute programs, lending, lending programs, grants. There are all kinds of funds out there that are available, but the availability depends on your readiness. And
Ooh.
so there is that process of, okay, one, do I have the right information? Because if I have the right information, I will more likely have the right results. Number two, do I have the right strategy with the information that I have that can move me to a place where I can utilize SBA funds or where I know how to properly apply for a grant? Have I done my own inner working with me, because typically a startup business is really going to be predicated upon the strength of the borrower or the owner, because they're going to have their personal credit ran and different things of that nature. So it is a myth, but there are also other steps that need to be taken in order to be able to have access to the funds and things of that nature that are out there.
What are three basics things on you have an inspiring entrepreneur,
Yes.
small business? What are the three basic things that need to be in place prior to having a conversation with you?
So I love that question, and it's difficult for me to say don't have a conversation with me because that's not the model that you have, and that's the reason why I'm here. So here's what I would say: three things that would be beneficial to position your business to be successful. Number one, it's all about you. My coach Marcus Rozier says you can't grow your business larger than you grow yourself, and so all too often we think that, especially when it comes into banking, that you can start a business, you can get an EIN number, you can get your articles of incorporation, you can take that right to the bank or a financial institution and get $250,000 in lending. And not only that, they won't check your personal credit. But in banking, a great indicator of future decisions are past decisions. And so they look at what decisions have you made when it comes to your personal credit? Because if we have difficulty running our personal lives, that same thing will happen in our business lives. And so, one, try to make sure you're as whole as possible. What does that mean? One, make sure your credit is at as good as possible. It's not everything, but it is a piece of the pie to be able to eat and be able to have access to capital. Number two, make sure everything is legit. Spend the money necessary to make sure your articles of incorporation are in place, where you have a really good team around you, whether it be a CPA, accountant, a bookkeeper, because the level that you're going to need other people's money. And other people's money is going to be accessed based on your documentation. And if your documentation is out of whack, then that money is going to be out of whack. We saw this during the pandemic, where our government allotted billions of dollars to small business owners to help us during this pandemic. And all they asked for was certain documentation. And as a result, there was some systematic stuff there. But in addition to that, there was some unreadiness. This goes back to the point we talked about earlier, making sure you're ready so you don't have to get ready. If you didn't have your tax returns and things of that nature, you missed out on billions of dollars. And so, number two, making sure that you have a thorough back end where everything is as tight as you can make it when it comes to your documentation. Number three, work to have cash flow. Cash flow is the means by which you are able to acquire additional debt. It is like working out. It is irresponsible for me to walk in the gym. You and I walk in the gym, and as powerful as you are, you got 245s on each end, and I know that I can only pick up 150 pounds. And I put all of this weight on the bar, I am setting myself up for failure. All too often, the thought is if I could just get $250,000 or $300,000, that would be the means by which my business will be catapulted. When in essence, if you don't have the necessary cash flow or even the projections, then that $250,000 will crush you under the weight of that debt. And so those are three things that I would encourage our listening audience to focus on.
Okay. That's some great information. The next question I have for you is, let's say a business has been in business for 3 years, and they're on this hamster wheel, and they're trying to figure it out. You know, they have money coming in and money going out, but they don't have a substantial like positive cash flow.
Yes. Yes.
Now it's time to come have a conversation with you.
Yeah, possibly. So
What
here's
does
what
that do? You get like, especially new entrepreneurs, like,
yeah,
because this can be so overwhelming.
absolutely.
So I know the best time to come to you is actually before we start, but what if we're like, we already in the midst of it? I've been out here a few
Yeah.
years, and I'm maintaining, but I don't see anything that I can hold on to.
Yeah.
And
So
so
yeah.
what do I do now?
So there's a couple things. So just to kind of apply just a little context, so my company, Barber Companies, we do two things. We help prepare businesses and entrepreneurs to be able to access capital that they need to grow, scale, and sustain their businesses, or we can provide them with that capital, right? The providing is when they're ready. So if you said right now, Corey, I'm moving my studios, I saw a studio I want to buy, it's $500,000, go get me the money. That's the providing side. The Corey, hey, listen, I think within the next year I'm going to do this, but I need you to walk with me and hold my hand and give me the right information, give me the right strategy, make sure my books and everything look the right way, because that is the preparation, that is the consulting side. And so everything for us starts with a conversation, because again, and we talked about this self-assessment, this self-awareness. The first thing that we have to do as a company is allocate and find out where you are. So where are we starting from? Okay, 3 years in, busting at the seams, but doesn't know where your money's going. Okay, let's take a look at your profit and loss statement. Well, I don't have a profit and loss statement. Here we go. So that shows us that we need to now go
And
talk
there's
to.
no shame in that, right?
No shame at all. You didn't need,
Because
you
I want
didn't
to
think
make
you
that
needed it.
clear.
Oh yeah.
I want to make
Oh yeah.
that clear. There is no shame in that, because most times I wouldn't want to come to you because I don't understand what a P&L is.
Yeah. This is the look, this is the gym. This is a judge-free zone. And in addition to that, this is why I'm here. So 2 decades in banking, you see so many great clients, so many great people that lack information and lack knowledge, and as a result, they perish. And so my job is to go in and say, okay, you don't know what a P&L is. Let me tell you what a profit and loss statement is and why it's critical to you being able to access the funds, because it is the report card of your business. And one, not only that report card is important to the bank, but more importantly, it's important to you, because it'll give you a clear picture of where your money's going. Up, travel and entertainment, $23,000. What's that? I didn't even know. Okay. Computer equipment, like these are things. And so there's no judgment at all. It in essence is the means by which we're here to educate, to inspire, to equip, to give strategy. And so that's the consultative side.
So another question. This is so good.
Okay.
I'm so hoping that everybody is finding some value in the information that you're giving is so good. So here's my next question. The title of these interviews is Build $1 Million Legacies with Purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question.
All
Do
right.
you think everybody who wants to have the capacity to build $1 million legacy?
So
And if not, those who don't, I want to say it falls in their mindset and what they believe about their capacity to do so.
yeah. So I want to be clear that I don't come off as I'm this, you're that, this, that, and the other with my answer, because I'm striving and working towards something, right? And my something, as a result of my assignment, is different from your something. So whereas someone may just need $38,000 a year and that's what they need, I'm not going to throw shade or say. So I think it's a couple things. I think the want is not enough.
That's
For
a
me,
good one. Just
for
say that one
me,
again.
for me to want to be a millionaire is not enough. It's not enough. We don't ever see anyone just succeeding off of want. Uh, we already have. Listen, we have all been created with a want. We were created to dominate. If that's not want, but why don't we? Well, I know why I don't. I have self-assessed and figured out some reasons why I don't in certain areas. And so um, I think a couple things that have benefited me and that I've seen others do is to get in the right environment. Exposure is something else. It creates a hunger. And this is good and bad. Listen, the most disgusting industries create a want based on exposure. That's why
Yeah.
we have to turn our TV off sometimes when commercials come on, because that exposure unlocks and ignites a want. So the same way it can be used for evil, it can be used for good. So I've got to get around people. Again, here we go. Hey, you look like, now you may not say that, but you look like something is good going on with you. Man, you holding your wife's hand. Y'all been married how long? 52 years?
Mm.
You still like her after 52 years? Okay, how? Because I want a great marriage. I've been exposed to your marriage and I see what's going on, and then I'm inquisitive. And
Mhm.
that me being inquisitive is information. And me taking that information and say, okay, well, when she says this, it's the same thing with money. It's the same thing with business. So I think that exposure is critical, because once you're exposed to a thing, it creates a desire. And as a result of having a sound mind is a mind that allows us to regulate certain things.
Mhm. And
Where
if there was not anything there in the first place, a desire could not be ignited. So you were born with the desire.
listen,
Ooh.
I listen. One of and I know we're talking Bible, but one of my favorite songs by Rick James was "Fire and Desire." I'm sorry.
Mine
I know we
too.
weren't supposed to.
Right.
Let's stay. Let's stay. Okay. But yeah, we were created with a desire. Listen, our Creator looked at us after looking at everything that was good and said, "Wait a minute, something is not good." So I've got
Mm.
a solution that I gotta. And so one is not enough. I
Yeah.
think I think exposure. We were talking about this in our men's fellowship, peer pressure and a positive peer pressure, right? You put a positive peer pressure on me when I'm telling you these dreams and I'm gonna do this. Okay, when, sir? When? Put a
When you
date on
gonna
it.
do it? Like, don't just talk about
But
it.
but listen, no, no, no. I want to. I want to. That's not enough.
Not
When?
enough. Right, right.
When?
I put
And
that
so,
in the chat, didn't I? I was like, I
yeah,
remember
when?
I was typing when.
Crickets. Crickets. And you gotta have that good pause, because if you let me out of that, it gives me a scapegoat.
Yeah.
But no, I just did it on a call right before this, telling me all this stuff. I was like, okay, we did all that. We strategized. We realized our price point. When? Well, I mean, I just nope. When? Right.
Right.
So this plays right into what the question that you asked, and I
So
don't have the full answer, but I think those are some things that
that's
can help
perfect.
us, help
And
me.
so when we talk about exposure, if you're watching us, you see a QR code for barber companies, and it gives you all of his digital information. There are three, like when I went to your website, there are three like levels of services that really caught my attention. You have webinars, you have masterminds, and you have coaching programs,
Hmm. Yes.
right? And I think getting in rooms, it allows you to become more open to what's possible for you.
Yes.
Because what I see you doing is I see you helping people see themselves from a perspective of what they didn't even think was possible. So if I'm not familiar with masterminds, if I'm not familiar with webinars or even a coaching program,
Hmm.
which one would be the best? Where would be the best place for me to start?
So I love this question, because it goes back to everything we've been talking about. The first piece is a self-assessment, because you can't help people that don't know they need help, right?
Mm.
And that's not shade, that's a self-awareness. There's some areas in my life that right now I feel like I'm good, but I have a beautiful wife that says, "Hey, come in for a second." That's a blind spot. You're not good in that. Really? I'm not. So I think the first thing for anybody listening is a self-assessment as to where you are. Now, one of the reasons why I do different levels is I want to meet people at a different place and in different rooms, right?
Mhm.
So every room has a cost associated with it. And your cost is your investment. And your investment, you get a certain return. And so I'll give you an example. I've got a room that'll be the 24th of January, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is a
That's
free
next
workshop.
week. That's
That's
next
next
week.
week. It's a
Oh,
free,
y'all, we right on time. All
yeah,
right.
it's a free workshop that will give you some insight, some information, some strategy, and an introduction to how I communicate and disseminate information. That's free, right? But there's a certain level, it's free to the public. I've got to set up some stuff, but that's a certain room. But at the same time, if someone is at the place where they're like, listen, I don't need nothing free because I need speed, I need expertise, I need access to capital within this period of time, then to answer your question, it really starts with a self-assessment of the person, because a big piece of what I do is seeds. I plant seeds. And those seeds, it may be a year or two before it's time for you to have a conversation with me, because you might not need capital right now. This might not even resonate. You're like, I'm good. I just that and the other. But in the next 2 or 3 years, something could happen. You could be exposed to a different way where it's like, wait a minute. So I don't have to keep cutting all his hair. I can have many more barbers and have a second location, or I don't have to keep driving this truck. If I got three or four, or wait a minute, I saw so and so do this. How in the world did they see? That's the thing. I was on a call with one of my clients last night, and she was mentioning how this other entity was able to buy a franchise and scale up with employees and all kinds of stuff. And I told her, I said, most likely what they did, they were able to go in and get a certain type of funding that allows you to use your projections. And they put on their projections the cost of their employees. And so they got a loan for probably all of that. But again, we can't count other people's coins and we can't be envious. If anything, let that inspire you to be inquisitive. And so again, it goes back to that pride piece. And so there's so many connecting things in this conversation.
Oh my goodness.
But
Yes.
yeah, that's a I would say with a self-awareness, because here's the thing too, all rooms aren't meant for all people.
That is so true. We met in the
Listen,
room.
we
You
met
and
and
I, we met in the room, right?
we did. And look, that room wasn't free.
Wasn't free
And, and in
at
addition to
all.
at all. Whoo, wait a minute. And so
Wait.
so the investment that I got and the access that I got in that room builds relationships that build a legacy. This is legacy work right now. And so and in addition to that, and this is not shade or blockage, every room is not intended for me to be in,
Mhm.
right? And so there's the discernment piece, because there may be rooms that I'm at a place where I'm not even ready for that room. If I got in that room, I was recently in a room in a place, and I came home and I told my wife, I said, God is pleased. I said, because in this room, I saw people that had every watch that I could ever want.
Mm.
I saw my dream watch right here. I saw my dream car, and I wasn't envious. I was inspired. And I think it was good for me to get in that room and see, how do I respond?
Mhm.
Right. That's that self-awareness. Am I envious or am I inspired? And so am I conducting myself in a way that's honoring my wife and my family, or am I out of control? Because if you get in the wrong room and you cut up, then you mean,
I often think, and it takes some time to get here, that when you are in rooms like that and you see things like that, like the watches, the cars,
yeah.
I think that's God's way of showing you a snapshot of what's possible for you, because he's giving you the power to do that.
Yeah, I agree. In addition to that, for me, I think what he showed me was, I want to see the desires of your heart, Corey. I want to see, when you see that, what it does. What does it do for you?
Mhm.
Right? Do you desire that more than you desire the information that's going on in this room and the relationships?
Mm.
Right? And
Good,
so
Corey.
for me, that it was inspiring, and I was encouraged that I didn't feel less than, because we all have our different levels of life that we live at. And especially through social media, it is easy to look at somebody else's life and say, okay,
Mhm.
yeah, he killing it. I mean, But for me, it again, it showed me where I was, and I was excited because if I was envious, then I had to go back and do some work. Because if I'm envious of the thing, then I'm taking my eye off of the provider of the things.
You know, that's so good, Corey, because I've been meditating on this, and you know it very well. Like when I see something, you know, when you see things that that you desire,
Yeah.
I have to go back. I've been meditating on this. There's Jesus said two things to seek first. He says, seek the kingdom
Yeah.
and righteousness.
Mm.
All these things will be added unto you. But like when you see something you desire, I have to do a kind of like, I digress to seek the kingdom first
Yeah.
and make sure I am in right position first. And
Yeah.
it's just always going back to that.
Yeah.
Seek the kingdom first and make sure I'm in right position.
I mean, how dare we seek something that is coming from the kingdom? The kingdom, look, the kingdom is the provider.
Yeah.
So you want the
Don't y'all get
peace.
it confused. He just said a thing right there. Don't get it confused. Like he just said the kingdom is the provider. And
And
oftentimes, like when we grow up, I had to grow into this. So I was not always like this. And I grew up in the church my entire life. I was not my entire life. And what you just said, I had to grow into that. I didn't recognize that the kingdom is the provider. And I have to be right in the kingdom first.
yeah. Well, that's a self-awareness, and that's a continual
Self-awareness.
listen, it is a continual daily renewal of our mind
Mm,
because we are it's a daily battle, and it's okay. Again, this is a
okay.
judge-free zone. I think hopefully our transparency is helping other people. Man, don't be fooled by this virtual background and this jacket with these slides that I have on because my feet are balled up right now because I'm hearing myself and
Yeah.
and I have to abide by these things that I'm saying, putting out into the atmosphere. And so I think it's a daily struggle. We win some days and then we win some days as a result of learning from the losses we take. Right. In that same situation, if I would have saw that watch, my dream watch on another guy who's younger than me,
Yeah.
I would have, if I would have been envious, then I got some inner work to do. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's the thing. We gotta do the work, even in business. If you're not at a place where you don't have the right information or the right system, you gotta seek. You gotta seek. Don't be worried about looking like you have it all together. There's so many things that I have that I do not have together. However, I know who to go to get it together. I don't have to know everything. That's a big mistake. And that's spiritually and earthly. As
True.
a business owner, you don't have to know everything.
I know everything. Yeah.
It is the model of the highest paid player in baseball is typically the pitcher. And the
Mhm.
pitcher spends a lot of time pitching and focusing on what he does well, which is pitching. Pitchers typically can't hit the ball, but you don't see them spending a lot of time hitting. Well, the team knows that, and as a result, they get hitters. And they let the pitcher do what he does well, and they let hitters do what they do well. So in our businesses, in our circles, in our lives, are we focusing more on the things that we don't do well compared to
Mhm.
cultivating, stewarding the things that we do well?
Mhm.
Because you don't have you can safety in a multitude of counsel. You can get people, you can bring people in that can complement and raise your arms and see your blind spots, but you can't do it if you're prideful. I can't do it if I'm prideful.
Yes.
So
So
what are we
based on,
talking about again? What is this?
I know, right? We just went
Where am
on
I?
a whole thing here, right? But I think it's important because that's how we got together. I really do think it's important because I think both of us like the reciprocity that we've been able to provide for each other has been absolutely amazing. And it has not even been a year. Do you realize
Listen,
that? It has not even been a
here we
year.
go. Here we go. Thank you, PD. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Darius Daniels. Quantum
Yes.
leaps.
Yeah,
We serve
quantum
we
leap.
we serve a God of quantum leaps, not
That's
addition,
right.
not a multiplication, quantum leaps.
Quantum leaps. I think his
Exceedingly abundantly
name is
more.
this year is upgrade. We upgrade now. We
Yeah,
upgrade. It's the year for the upgrade.
yeah,
So you've been in this industry for 20 years, and I'm almost done. 20 years,
yes.
two decades.
2 decades. Yeah.
What has been the most rewarding thing that you have seen as a result of your impact on the people that you serve?
So what's been rewarding for me is hearing people on a large scale talk about these large things that they want to do. Corey, I want to own a 16 unit complex that will, in essence, the cash flow from that will take my wife off her job. Being able to take that and bring it down to certain steps to where we execute on it. And I am able to secure the loan for them for $1.6 million where they purchase that property, right? And so for me, it is hearing the desires of someone's heart, being able to match the proper information with the right strategy to help them execute on it. These things have been extremely impactful. In addition to that, what has also been impactful is seeing the lack of that, right? So as a banker, being in the banking sector, having to decline really good people, having systematic things happen where we still see this today in 2024 happen to people, and then being able to say, okay, I can change this by establishing a firm that deals with this pain point. That's also been rewarding. So those are kind of, it's really, really broad. My rewards continue to come. This is rewarding.
Mhm.
It'll be rewarding when I pick up my kids today and they ask me what I did. It'll be rewarding to tell them that story, what we did
Yeah,
today. So yes,
yeah. This has been so good. So thank you
thank you.
for agreeing to come and share some knowledge, information that we can begin to ponder on and implement and reach out to you to have deeper conversations as we move forward into building legacies for our communities and our families.
Yeah.
And so at Build Million Dollar Legacy with Your Purpose, we have 3 questions
All
that we
right.
like to ask each guest. And so the first question is, what is your favorite quote? What is your favorite quote that inspires you when you're not operating at your highest level?
So this is seasonal. So let me tell you what I'm rocking right now. Um, it is a song, and it is "I Have Everything That I Need." It's "I Am That I Am" by ooh J.J. Harrison. It's called "I Am," and the song starts off saying, "I have everything I need. I have everything I need because the great I am provides for me." So that's what I'm rocking right now.
Okay,
Now it might be again.
that's good.
I talked about Rick James earlier. It might be no. Let me stop. But that's where I am right now. Yes, I have everything that I need.
Okay,
That I am that I am.
I am that I am. I have everything that I need.
Hmm.
That's good. Question 2. What is one book that has made a difference as you're living out your purpose?
So one book that my dad gave me that ignited exposure in me, that gave answers was, and some people might not like this again. Um, all different vessels can be used for different reasons. So it is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That was the first book that I had as a teenager that I read cover to cover, and I was like, and so that sparked something inside of me, and I think it's a good read.
You know, you have had so much exposure at a young age. I didn't read that book
Hey,
until I was a
yeah.
full-grown woman.
Shout out to Walter and Isola Barber. Look, my dad used to take us to neighborhoods in our gunmetal gray busted Toyota Cressida, two-door, and we would look at houses. And he was igniting a want inside of us. All right. I don't get emotional. Keep going. What's the next question?
Okay. Number 3, what tool do you use to continue to elevate and grow in what you have been purposed to do?
I use a lot of YouTube. YouTube is a great resource for information because I'm on the go a lot and I'm an audible learner. And it's a way that I consume the right information. And so I save a lot of videos in different compartments, whether it be business, whether it be manhood, whether it be faith. And so I use YouTube to, even the other day, a gentleman I was out with suggested a book. And so I went and listened to a podcast that gave me so much insight into raising my beautiful, merciful warrior of a son. And so I am constantly listening to something, which again is exposure, constantly listening to something. As much as I love music, and I listen to music every single day, I have minimized some of the music that I listen to maximize some of the information that I'm taking in.
That's good. This has been so good. So
Absolutely.
I know we are live right now, but family, friends, community, this conversation is going on YouTube. And Corey has a YouTube. He will be tagged. I want you to go like his YouTube
Oh,
because
wow.
analytics is everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want you to like mine too.
Yeah.
I want you to like and follow both of us and hit that alert so you can get notified when other conversations come up based on what we have decided to live into in regards to our purpose. But this conversation in creating blueprints for financial stability and legacy has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing and opening up yourself to us and being vulnerable, because we're going to walk away with some desires that have been ignited just based on what you have shared.
Yeah.
And I thank you.
I thank you.
And is there anything that you want to leave? I'm going to put your information. If you didn't scan the QR code, I'm going to put I'm going to put his information in the description. So all you have to do is point and it'll take you right there. But is there anything else you want to leave our audience with before we sign out?
One, I'm so grateful for our connection, our divine connection, and how resourceful and graceful and kind you've been. It has inspired me to do the same. Um, you you were so engaging that it showed me how engaging I was not, and that's not a negative thing. And so it showed me that, man, if she can do all of this at no cost when you easily could have. So thank you. Thank you. The second piece as we close out, anybody listening, you have everything you need. Everything you need is inside of you. In addition to that, everything that you need is around you. And just like analytics, if you look at your YouTube feed, it feeds you more of what you are requesting and wanting. So when we decide to change what we intake, it will change our desire. And those analytics are just like our internal desire. That's why when you look at your feed, if you always got people fighting and fussing, and so analytics are very interesting to the inner workings of us. And so I appreciate this opportunity to be here and to share my heart and my failures and all those good things. And if I can ever be of any service, I'm here. And to the audience, I'm also here.
All right. This is Dr. Marnita on fire with P3
On fire.
And at P3 Purposepreneurs, we are pattern makers, and pattern makers are move makers. So go out there and build your $1 million legacy with purpose. We got you.
Gotcha.